32-year-old Maddie, who works as an Uber driver, lost her car because of the house debts left to her by her mother. She decides to help her rich parents in exchange for the car. In their opinion, socializing with a bright and attractive girl before college will do the young man good. All methods and even intimate contact are allowed, but will she be able to do it? We start with Gary, a tow truck driver, arriving at the home of Maddie Barker to take back her car due to unpaid bills. Maddie comes out, trying to convince Gary not to tow her car by reminding him of their previous romantic relationship, which she had ended suddenly. However, her efforts fail due to the unexpected appearance of a man from a recent fling who shows up in his underwear, acting inappropriately towards her. Despite Maddie's objections, Gary ends up towing the car. Since Maddie works as an Uber driver, she uses rollerblades to chase after Gary, stopping him as he tries to buy breakfast. She attempts to lower her car from the tow truck and escape, but fails and ends up making a clumsy effort to detach the car herself, which Gary counters by lifting the car higher. As a result of her actions, Maddie faces possible legal trouble and learns she owes a significant amount in overdue taxes, putting her home at risk. She has lived in Montauk her whole life and works as a bartender by the waterfront. She works alongside her friend Sarah and spends time with Sarah and her husband Jim. Maddie's boss comments on her aggressive nature during an altercation with a customer who tries to order before the bar opens. On their break, Sarah shows Maddie a job ad from a rich family looking for a companion for their son before he goes to college, offering a Buick Regal as payment. Maddie understands the companion, suggests a sexual role, but she accepts out of desperation and a desire to get back at the rich for her financial predicament. She then goes to meet the Becker family. Laird and Allison discuss their son Percy, who is set to start at Princeton come fall. Percy is shy and reclusive, with no friends, spending his time playing video games in his room. Although they initially wanted someone Percy's age, Maddie convinces them she's the right fit for the job. However, Laird and Allison insist that Percy must not know about their deal. They tell Maddie to meet Percy at a pet shelter where he volunteers. Wearing a stylish dress, she tries to charm him by pretending to be interested in adopting a pet. Percy shows her Milo, a retired police dog with a cocaine problem. Maddie's forwardness makes Percy want to leave early, but she offers him a lift in Jim's van. When they reach her house, Percy uses pepper spray on her, making her uncomfortable. Maddie admits she finds him attractive, leading Percy to ask her out on a real date, to which she agrees. Maddie then returns the van to Jim, telling him and Sarah she finds Percy unattractive. She takes Percy to a bar, where she knows the staff and orders him a Long Island iced tea, which he doesn't like. Then, Travis shows up, revealing he and Maddie used to date. He shows his wedding ring, saying breaking up with Maddie was good for him, and warns Percy not to get too involved with her. Later, Maddie and Percy go to the beach for a swim without clothes, keeping the interaction simple and understandable. Maddie encourages a reluctant Percy to join her in the water. Shortly after, 3 drunk teens steal their clothes, wallets, phones, and keys. Maddie confronts the teens stark naked and manages to get their stuff back after a bit of a scuffle. Back in the water, Percy hints that Maddie's actions were a bit over the top, making her think about leaving. Yet Percy, still without clothes, wants to get his phone back. He jumps onto the hood of Maddie's car. Maddie, unfazed, drives off, leading to a thrilling escape with Percy on the hood. The police start chasing them. Worried about her driving license, Maddie speeds up and cleverly crosses a railway just before a train passes, shaking off the police. Wanting to get closer to Percy, Maddie takes him back to her place. Maddie attempts a seductive dance to encourage Percy to do the same, but stops when she notices a rash on his back, a problem he attributes to his anxiety. He opens up about his difficult past, including being ridiculed by friends for sleeping in his parents' bedroom and false accusations of inappropriate behavior, which makes him hesitant to socialize. While applying lotion to his rash, Maddie and Percy share uncomfortable personal stories. Maddie then gets a visit from Do Khan, a former schoolmate who has become a real estate agent. He expresses interest in purchasing her house at its full market value, but Maddie declines his offer, determined to keep her home. Maddie turns down the offer for her house, focusing on her plan to keep it. Percy then asks her out on a real date, which she eagerly accepts. Their date at an arcade ends abruptly when they're kicked out because Maddie teases a child. At a lighthouse, Percy awkwardly asks for a kiss from Maddie, who agrees, and they share a tender moment. Maddie confesses she's never left Montauk and lives in her family home with her mum, explaining her dad gave them the house and some money to start afresh without disturbing his new family. They later visit Jody, Percy's ex-nanny, who senses something off about Maddie. She jokingly questions the oddity of a grown man being a nanny to a teenager. Maddie and Percy also have a pretend prom date at a fancy restaurant, where Percy reveals his talent for playing the piano. Encouraged by Maddie, he performs Manita to the delight and applause of everyone. Surprised by his skill, Maddie is proud. A fellow student, Natalie, praises Percy's performance and mentions she's heading to Princeton too. She invites him to a pre-college meet-up. Maddie, however, tries to discourage Percy from going, worried he might get romantically involved with Natalie or another girl, despite her own apprehensions. Percy insists on going to the gathering, and they arrive in a limousine. Maddie starts looking for Percy among a crowd of snobby teenagers who find her out of place because of her age. After a persistent search, Maddie finds Percy next to Natalie, not in good shape. He's sick from drinking too much alcohol and taking ibuprofen. Maddie tries to help him throw up, but they're interrupted when the party host's parents show up and tell Maddie to leave. Trying to shield her, Percy accidentally hits Maddie in the throat. Later in the limousine, Percy, feeling bold, tells Maddie he wants to be intimate with her and confesses his love, but she refuses because he's drunk. Laird and Allison notice Percy becoming more outgoing and happy, which he credits to his new romantic experience. However, Percy tells them he's decided not to go to Princeton to stay near Maddie. Allison calls Maddie, who's having doubts about her job. Laird tells Maddie she can keep the car, even if she ends the relationship, hoping this will encourage Percy not to give up on Princeton. Unfortunately, Percy is in his parents' car and accidentally hears their entire conversation through the car's audio system, overhearing everything unintentionally. Percy overhears Maddie's plan to keep the car without needing to maintain their romantic ties, which upsets him. He invites Maddie to meet his parents over lunch, where he drinks too much wine and behaves in a passive-aggressive manner. Later, he and his friend Crispin hatch a scheme with the Buick. They drive it into the forest, rig it to crash into a tree, causing the tree to fall on the car. Following this, Percy and Maddie agree to become intimate upon his return home. However, the encounter is brief and awkward, ending almost as soon as it begins. Percy then tells Maddie he knows enough and is no longer interested in her, predicting she'll end up staying in Montauk forever. Gary later brings the damaged Buick back to Maddie since it's registered in her name. This forces her to continue her Uber job with the damaged car, while Percy isolates himself in his room, ignoring Maddie's messages and calls. Eventually, Maddie saves enough money to fix her car and pay off her taxes. She celebrates this achievement with Jim and Sarah, but their joy is short-lived as they announce their move to Florida due to their upcoming baby. Feeling let down, Maddie faces the reality of dealing with loneliness. Maddie decides to take up Doe's offer to sell her home, passing the ownership to Jim and Sarah to provide a stable environment for their forthcoming child. Simultaneously, she begins to plan her move to California. Learning of Percy's attendance at a Princeton event, Maddie sets out to find him. Despite his continued avoidance, she tries to explain herself by mirroring his previous act, climbing onto his car's hood. He drives off, taking her on an unexpected ride that ends with the car in the water after a fiery incident at a barbecue. Rescuing each other from the water, they share a moment of mutual apologies. Maddie reveals her plans to move to California, which Percy supports, acknowledging their shared moment as important. On the day Percy is set to leave for Princeton, he prepares to say goodbye to his parents. Maddie surprises him by showing up to drive him to Princeton, ready to start her own journey to California afterward. Percy is shocked and delighted to see Maddie has decided to take Milo, the dog, with her, introducing a new chapter in her life. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.